This video idea started out as a pretty standard Smash stage wish list, but as I looked at the current list of stages we have and thought of the things that we don't have, I realized something I don't think I've ever fully appreciated before, and that's how the stage list in Smash Ultimate is pretty freaking perfect. Like, this video was supposed to be a top 10, but in the end, I only thought of 7 total stages that I felt Smash was truly missing. I certainly had a lot of just more fun ideas that I'd love to see, and I'll share some of those too, but yeah, in my opinion, these are the 7 stages that I think Smash needs to perfectly represent the locations of the characters represented on its roster.
This is Knuckles, and I'm back. I've been away for a while, but I'm back to kick some.
Pop quiz. There's only one Smash series that has 0 stages to represent it. Do you know what it is? It's R.O.B. If we're talking about Smash feeling complete, I think everyone needs at least one, and luckily, I actually don't think the options are that bad. If you don't know, R.O.B the Robot came with many NES consoles to trick stores into thinking it was a toy instead of a video game. R.O.B only worked with 2 NES games. There was Gyromite, a game that would make a fantastic stage. It's a puzzle platformer where R.O.B controls pillars that go up and down, helping the player progress or stopping their progression. The Smash stage writes itself, a multi-layered stage like Wrecking Crew or Tomodachi Life with pillars moving up and down that may inadvertently block the path to your opponent. That's a fine option, but personally, I prefer to use R.O.B's other NES game, Stack Up. A game that's barely a video game, it's more about your real-life R.O.B stacking blocks. I like the idea for representing the series of a stage that's just blocks in a living room with a R.O.B toy constantly, but slowly, moving those blocks around. While I think Gyromite perfectly well represents the spirit of this imaginary R.O.B series of games that Smash created, I think getting a real R.O.B toy going in the stage while still being based on one of his video games is the winning idea, and probably would draw eyes from more people who are unfamiliar with R.O.B's history than a generic NES laboratory stage. Now, R.O.B is the only series that didn't have a stage, but if you ask me, there are some individual characters who I think are really in need of a stage to call their own. First up, even though he's attributed to the general Mario series, Dr. Mario is definitely his own thing, right? And I think Smash is seriously overdue to get a falling block puzzle stage. It's been a layup idea since Melee, either do basically the Dr. Mario stage that got leaked, or I can shake to substituting it with a Tetris stage. It's one of Nintendo's most important games, give those remixes a home, rep this genre that is one of the most successful in gaming history and has been deeply tied to Nintendo's history for decades, and give Dr. Mario a home that is actually relevant to him while you're at it. Or add a Puyo Puyo character where every costume is a different Puyo Puyo character and give them a Puyo Puyo stage. Final offer. Now, the second character is one that I think deserves a stage all on their own. It's not a weird thing like Dr. Mario where it kind of represents a character and a genre all at once. But before we get to them, here are some less essential but still fun stage ideas I like. Mega Man Boss Rush. You're plopped into the classic Mega Man Boss Rush chamber that all Mega Man Classic games have. Occasionally, one of the pods will light up, and if a player enters the chamber while it's lit, all players will be transported to a boss room where a robot master will serve as a stage boss. Emmy Zone. I think Emmy works better as a stage character than a playable character, and these rooms have such a thick atmosphere, even for Metroid standards. And Emmy roams around and brutally charges towards any player at spots. However, it is not a stage boss. The Emmy can't be damaged, you just have to avoid it. Field of Fate from Street Fighter. I just like it. It looks neat. It's crucial to Street Fighter lore. Go ahead and add it. We need more stages with a gravitas besides Final Destination. Okay, back to business. This stage does belong to a character, but really it's like top 5 most iconic Nintendo locations that everyone knows about and somehow isn't in Smash. How on earth is there not a Bowser's Castle stage? And anyone who comments about the Paper Mario stage is uninvited from my birthday party. Do it old school like Bowser's character design in Smash. Gray stone wall, dimly lit backgrounds, lava pits, fireballs. I know that Smash stages tend to represent whole games rather than locations, and as we continue on from here, you're going to see that that's a position I'm not fully aligned with. In fact, here's another location that I think is super iconic that Smash is pretty blatantly missing, although this one is a bit more abstract in nature. Stick with me. You know what I don't think of when I think of the Pokémon series? Arenas and stadiums. So many of the Pokemon stages are from particularly short yet climactic moments throughout the series that don't last that long or straight up made up for Smash. I admit that having a Pokemon Stadium-esque stage definitely has its place, and Lumio City and Saffron City are a bit better in terms of game representation because they are central locations you spend a lot of time in, but for like 80% of Pokemon games, you're running around in grassy fields looking for Pokemon and fighting other trainers. Even the towns are pretty grassy field-esque in nature. I'm shocked I'm actually here asking for a grassy field stage in Smash. One of the most common criticisms of Smash stages is that they always pick the grassy field from any game, but we have like 8 Pokemon stages. One of them really ought to be reminiscent of the scenery one typically sees when playing a Pokemon game. I do not care what game or location the stage is actually from. Do Route 54 from Sapphire and have Whimsicott running around. I don't know. I'm trying not to cop out in this video. Okay, so if I'm picking, you do just straight up Route 1 from the original Red, Blue, and Green for the sake of maximizing iconic appeal, or you pick a fairly standard route from the upcoming Generation 10. Make it as classic as possible, or make it as relevant as possible. Although, I will always admit, Pokemon is one of my biggest blind spots with Smash Brothers, so I would totally defer to a more knowledgeable Pokemon fan if they were like, hey, this would be a great chance to rep Gen 5 or 8 with this route that everyone loves. Sure. Far more important than the game and the specific location is the iconography that you build around the stage to pull the theme together. Give it a nice vista, a town off to the side in the background, trainers walking around. I won't be happy until you do it, Nintendo. I will never be happy unless I get the Pokemon stage that I want in Smash Brothers. But let's do some more fun ones. This video focuses on stages from series that are on the Smash roster because I think it's hard to call stages from outside of the core series essential, my falling block puzzle pitch aside. But there are so many franchises that I'd just like to see what they look like when translated to a Smash stage. Cuphead, 13 Sentinels, Hades, Ace Attorney, pick any. I just want to see how the visuals come out. Velvet Room from Persona. This is kind of the ideal location for representing the Persona series as a whole. You can have Igor hanging out in the background with Personas flying around. I want to say that it'll steal the gimmick from the Memento stage that's already in Smash, where the Velvet Room's appearance and attendant character will change to match the music playing based on game. But then Persona 4 made the Velvet Room into a car. Stupid Persona 4, you can't fit 8 Donkey Kongs into a car. Snake Park from ARMS. Jumping onto a giant battle top and riding it around is just cool, okay? It just is. And it's all black and bright green. It's cool. I don't need to prove anything to you. Mario Wonder stage with a Wonder Flower gimmick. I mean, right? My notes say the Underworld from Kid Icarus, and I don't really know what I was thinking there. The Statue of Liberty from Splatoon. Okay, shut up. No more fun. We're talking about Smash Brothers for Pete's sake. Show some respect. As I alluded to before, the characters selected for Smash Bros. Often take on a very functional nature, and one of those functions is franchise representation. Pokemon and Fire Emblem are series that are about large casts of appealing characters, so in order to properly represent those series, they need a large amount of characters on the Smash roster. Pac-Man is a significantly larger IP than Fire Emblem, but no one has a problem with Pac-Man only getting one character because character isn't a focus of that franchise. But for whatever reason, the same approach doesn't appear to be taken with stages. Stages are usually just used to represent new game releases, typically skewing towards larger franchises. And there's nothing wrong with that, but in my opinion, if we could shift just a fraction of our stage resources in another direction, I think the game would benefit big time. Just like how there are series on the Smash roster that are inherently about a lot of diverse characters, there are also series in Smash that are about having a large collection of varied settings, environments, and aesthetics, where these things are part of the franchise's identity and serve as a genuine selling point of new titles, just as new Pokemon do for that series. I believe there are 3 series on the Smash roster that are emblematic of this reality, and I think Smash would benefit from choosing some more bespoke locations from these series to better showcase to Smash players what makes those series great. We'll go in order from least essential to most essential, in my opinion, of course. If I'm being honest, there's 2 series that I think really demand stage attention from this perspective, but I do want to quick shout out the third, mostly because if there is any Nintendo series that markets itself and sells itself on the premise of outstanding environmental design, it is Xenoblade. Now, Xenoblade is doing pretty okay in Smash for a newer series with only 4-ish games, especially since the second stage wasn't another grassy field. Cloud Sea was a great call. But just throwing it out there, I think the most popular locations from this series are the bioluminescent forests that usually occupy the second area of these games. I think Noctilum would be a great call. It's my favorite of the bunch, gets Xenoblade X in there, but let's get on to the two franchises I think are a little more desperate than Xenoblade. First up, maybe we have to deal with it being an underprivileged series because it's third party, but I think the stage representation for Sonic the Hedgehog hardly does an adequate job showcasing the design appeal of its environments. Visual appeal is a huge selling point of Sonic. That's been true since it was first marketed as a visually superior alternative to Mario. I feel like I would actually be a little more lenient on Sonic if Green Hill Zone was the only stage we got. It's the obvious choice, and I just chalk it up to third parties only getting one stage. But then they added Windy Hill Zone, another Green Plains level 1, so as long as they open the door, I'm walking in. The thing is, Sonic is not another one of these platformer series with consistently naturalist environments. In fact, modern, urban, and industrial might be even more common throughout the series' history. I am truly not picky with what location you go with, because pretty much every Sonic location looks great. It just needs to help demonstrate the variety in environments and vibes this series offers. Chemical Plant, Casino Night Zone, the Death Egg, Angel Island, Bad Future, Speed Highway, the Flooded City at the end of Adventure, City Escape Pumpkin Hill, the Arc Crisis City, Rooftop Run, Planet Wisp, Sunset Heights, Cyberspace, Starfall Islands, just not the Grassy Plains first level. There are so many perfectly acceptable options. But I do want to give a concrete answer in this video, and luckily, there is a location in Sonic that ticks basically every box that I would want it to hit. Radical Highway contrasts the existing stages perfectly. A dark background with a primarily red color theme in a purely urban environment. It's everything the existing stages are not, complementing their inclusion beautifully. It comes from arguably the most defining game in the modern era of Sonic, Adventure 2, allowing it to represent modern Sonic in a manner that I don't believe Windy Hill quite pulls off. And, I mean, if we're inevitably adding Shadow anyway, what else are you gonna pick? But Sonic is third party, I hear you yelling. You're always yelling while watching my videos. Gotta be honest, dude, I don't think your neighbors appreciate that very much. But I hear you. Third parties can never have all the nice luxuries the first parties are granted. It would be truly bizarre if a Nintendo series that is renowned for its environments and level design still suffered from a lack of proper stage representation, especially if it were one of Nintendo's most storied and omnipresent series. Especially if this series had been included in Smash since its inception. So yeah, I'm talking about Donkey Kong. Nearly every single stage is a jungle. One jungle stage, of course. 2 jungle stages, fine. 3 jungle stages, okay, at least this one's at nighttime. But 5 of Donkey Kong's 6 stages have been jungles. And the 2 that were the most original got cut from Ultimate. Rumble Falls, sure, people don't generally love traveling stages, much less a vertical traveling stage. But everyone loved the foreground and background play of the DKC Return stage. And yes, credit where credit's due, we have 75 meters, which is not a jungle, and that represents the original arcade Donkey Kong game beautifully, but that ties into another pet peeve I have about Smash, which is when it pretends like its characters haven't done anything since the 80s and 90s. I'm getting off track though. Even if we ignore that Donkey Kong throughout his decades of history has brought several incredibly beloved and iconic settings ripe for Smash inclusion, you know what, maybe they're not iconic enough. I can admit, nothing in Donkey Kong is as iconic as the jungle. It's not like there's some other super iconic Donkey Kong setting that they would use for, I don't know, a theme park ride.
ドンキーコングといえば暗闇を走り抜けるトロッコですね。
Even if you want to say the others don't count, you cannot convince me that the minecart levels are not intrinsically linked enough to Donkey Kong as an IP to warrant representation in Smash. I might call it the second most iconic Nintendo location yet to be included in Smash as a stage after Bowser's Castle. But at the end of the day, that is just 7 stages. 7 stages before I literally cannot think of anything that could reasonably be considered a necessity for Smash to feel like it is perfectly representing the settings of its included series. I know sometimes it makes me uncomfortable when I make a video like this where I come off as rather entitled. My gift to you today is a free pass to sound entitled. Hit the comments, tell me what stage you want to see in Smash, but even more than that, tell me what stages you think Smash has to get around to at some point in order for it to feel complete to you. Really interested to see if there's anything out there I missed. Catch you guys in the next one.